All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip. And on today's real estate tip, I'm going to be covering two different topics. So topic number one, I'm going to be talking about CRM setup. As you hopefully are aware, our CRMs are our most important tool inside of our real estate businesses that we should be using on a daily basis. However, most in our industry don't know how to set their CRM up properly so they can maximize this tool and get the most out of it. Also, I'm going to be covering local market expertise. So how to become an absolute expert, an absolute badass in your overall local market, how to know when to shift and pivot based on the data inside your market. So going to be doing a deep dive in both of these topics. And I was inspired to create today's podcast from a friend of mine, actually one of our amazing GSD Mode podcast watchers and listeners, Mitchell, who's a badass real estate agent, who shot me an email, asked if I'd create a podcast around these to do a deep dive to help him get dialed in on these two topics. So told him I would, and here we are. All right, so real quick though, before I jump into these, make sure that you are checking out gsdmode.com for more additional free resources, more additional free training. There are 3 things on there I highly encourage you to check out. Number 1 is my free 3-hour in-depth masterclass training, which is 6 steps to 3xing your real estate business within the next 12 months. You can also schedule a 100% free, 0 strings attached coaching strategy call with me. So if you are not fully certain on the exact strategy plan that you need to do, that you need to have in place to make your real estate goals a reality, that gives you and I a chance to spend an hour together to do a deep dive into your business and make sure that you have the best strategy plan in place. The third thing is, if you are interested in learning about what a potential partnership could look like, of how you and I can partner together in our real estate businesses and go out there and dominate and crush our goals together and support each other with this, where you get full access to all my coaching, training, mentorship 100% for free. You can go to on gsdmode.com, menu item bar up there, whatever that's called, that'll say partner with me, or you can go to gsdmode.com/partner. Or if you just scroll below show notes or the description, you'll see links for all of those things in there. All right, enough on that. Let's jump on it. So first thing I want to talk to you about is your CRM. And there are 4 things that you need to dial in, that you need to master, that you need to dial in within your CRM that are going to yield you 99.9% of the results. So here is the issue with CRMs. And I'm not here today to talk about what specific CRM to use. Dude, they're all good. They're all great. I use Perfect Storm. That's the one I use, that I have. A little bit biased there because I also own the company. But look, at the end of the day, I don't care what CRM that you're using. These 4 things apply, and you're going to be able to, if your CRM is decent, if it's good, you're going to be able to do these 4 things. But one of the confusing aspects of CRMs is, okay, a lot of times these things can do like 1,000 different things. And we jump and we start trying to learn it, and all of a sudden we just get overwhelmed and overloaded with all these different features, all these different tools. Well, look, like I said, there's only 4 things. 4 things that you need to dial in, that you need to master, that you need to do consistently and use consistently inside your real estate business that are going to yield you 99.9% of the results. I'm a big believer in, personally, in my own life, like I believe in simplicity. I want to remove the complexity of it, identify the simplicity. And in most things, there's usually only a few, 3, 4, sometimes half a dozen things that are going to yield you the vast majority of results. So I always want to identify those. So before I jump into those 4 things, just to make sure that you understand why a CRM is so important, I want you to think about, and here's how I just mentally think about what a CRM is. A CRM is your technology assistant that helps keep all of your relationships on track, right? So like, it isn't a possibility to maximize lead conversions if you're not leveraging and using a CRM properly. It's an impossibility to maximize on repeat referral business if you're not using your CRM correctly. Now, are some people out there, closing deals and doing a decent amount of business without a CRM? Sure. But they would close a hell of a lot more and or be able to close the same amount in a hell of a lot less time if they actually leveraged their CRM. So CRM is our customer relationship management system. And I want you to think about your CRM as a technology assistant. So if I'm going to go hire an assistant, I'm going to have that assistant do things for me that I can delegate off to that assistant. So what are those things inside of our CRMs? That's going to be the automation piece, emails, text messages, property alerts, and so forth. Okay, the things then that my assistant, I can't delegate to my assistant. So things that I need to do, I'm going to make sure that my assistant is reminding me to do those things so I don't forget, so things do not get forgotten, and so forth. So, okay, we got our technology assistant. Now, your power of your CRM is going to come down to how well you know it and how well that you set it up. Then, of course, making sure that you're using it. But you could be in there, log it in there every single day. But if you don't have it set up correctly, if you don't know how to use it properly, you're going to yield low results. It's kind of like going to the gym. You can go to the gym every single day. Like I grew up in the gym industry. My dad owned and operated gyms for 30 years. I would see members constantly come in there 4 or 5 days a week, but I'd never see their bodies changed. So it's not enough to just get in the door. You got to make sure that you have the right strategy once you're in the door. So same thing with our CRMs. It's not enough just to log in there and use it. You got to make sure that you're using it in the proper way, that you've learned it in the proper way. So here's the 4 things. Okay, number 1, you got to make sure that you organize your CRM correctly. I'm going to walk you through real quick how I organize mine and how I recommend to organize yours. And again, this is going to be something that you can do. I don't care if you're using Perfect Storm, KV Core, Boomtown, Follow Up Boss, Lofty, you name the system. Like this is going to apply for all of them. Okay, so I do it and I put them into really 3 different components. So I have category, type, and lead source. So this is how I'm going to organize my whole entire CRM, all of my contacts inside of my CRM. Because remember, this is your customer relationship, your contact relationship management system. So we want to use it properly to manage all of those relationships. So category. And again, I'm a big believer in simplicity. So I just keep it very simple. So category is going to be, are they somebody looking to buy? So are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a buyer and a seller, or are they an other? And then people will be like, well, Josh, what happens if they're not a buyer or if they're not a seller? If they're not a buyer or seller, okay, then boom, that's why that other category is there. So that's maybe like vendor partners, or other, there's always going to be some gray area or a scenario or situation where they're not looking to buy, not looking to sell. So I just want black and white, no gray area to remove that complexity. They're either looking to buy, they're either looking to sell, they're looking to buy and sell, or if they're not one of those 3 things, then boom, they go into the other category. So that's category. Then I have types. So types is going to be, okay, are they a lead? Are they a client? Are they a pending or under contract? Are they a past client? Or are they another? So they're either a lead, they're either a client, they're either a pending, past client, or if they're not one of those 4 things, they're in the other bucket, right? And then the last one is a lead source. So that's how they came in. Like how were they initially originated, right? So that's the lead source. So then based on category, type, and lead source, that creates a bucket, and that then dictates what my follow-up action plan is going to be. So let's just say, for an example, buyer, lead, open house. That then dictates a follow-up plan. Seller, lead, open house. Seller, client, and then whatever that, maybe expired, right? So then however those line up, that then dictates what my action plans and what my follow-up protocols are going to be. So making sure that you have your CRM organized in a very simplistic, not confusing, not overwhelming way, very important. Okay, so item number 2 to master and to make sure that are dialed in is your drips, okay, if you're in KV Core, they're going to call it smart campaigns. Most are called drips. So if we look at this is going to be your automation component. And pretty much every CRM out there is going to allow you to automate 3 things. You got your emails, you got your text messages, and then you got your tasks. So I want to master my ability to understand how to set up drips and how the drip programs work. But then I also want to make sure that they're honed in and dialed in. So let's just say, okay, I get a buyer lead open house. Okay, I have my 1,000-day long drip email and text message campaign that they're automatically going to get placed on. So for the next 1,000 days, I have my technology assistant automatically email and automatically text them for the next 1,000 days. Then from there, we also have drip tasks. So I'm going to use the drip tasks for lots of different things, but the primary way that I use the drip tasks is to remind me to do my follow-up calls. So with everything going on, all the regulations, the new laws coming out in 2025, it's like, I know a lot of people are excited about AI dialing, all of this stuff. Well, that's getting cracked down. So it's going to continue being, at least until laws change for a long time, it's going to be one-on-one dialing. Right? So, okay, I need to be reminded of when I need to call this person so that way I don't forget, because if my assistant can't do it for me, I want that assistant to remind me so I can do those things without forgetting, right? So we got your emails, your text messages, and your drips. Your call task. And also I want you to think about when it comes to your drips of not just thinking about leads, but thinking about every scenario, every detour. So let's just say I set a buyer consultation. So I set a buyer appointment with the lead, and they no-show me. Industry average, that's 50% of the time. If you're good, that's 25% of the time. So it's going to happen. It's going to come up. So then all I have to do, because I have these drip campaigns set up, is when I'm in that situation and they no-show me, I just have to click a button. It's going to queue off my 26-day, 12-touch automated plan where it's going to automatically email them 6 times over the next 26 days, automatically task me to call them 6 times over the next 26 days. If I'm unable to reconvert into an appointment and rebook that appointment to conduct it in the next 26 days, it just tosses them back into my ongoing lead follow-up. So thinking of those detours, okay, I got a past client. I just click a button. It's going to remind me every 90 days for the next 20 years to call them so I never forget. So this then just allows me to go into my daily task queue, click a button for my daily tasks, and then boom, I'm able to see who I need to call. My system tells me exactly who I need to call, why I need to call them. This allows it for things not to slip through the cracks. Look, when you're new and you have no leads or you got 30 leads, this is easy to manage. But then, okay, you're doing this for some time. Maybe you're stacking 30 new leads or 40 new leads or 100 new leads, depending on how big, how hard you're hitting this every single month. Next thing you know, you got 4,000 leads in your system. You got, 20 clients. Let's just say you got, a dozen listings and then 8 buyers that you're working with. Plus you got 6 under contracts. Plus you got 50 past clients. Like, you are not going to keep all this shit together on your own. Plus then even with your past clients, it's like, okay, I'm not going to remember all their names and their kids' names and their birth dates and all of that stuff. All of this is allowed to be in my CRM to make sure that all of this stuff is remembered and things aren't slipping the cracks. So, okay, we got to make sure that your drips and your automation is set up properly. And that's going to be set up based on the way that you do your business. What are the processes? What are the way that you do your business? What are the lead sources that you do inside your business? And so forth. Okay, next one is going to be the mass email feature. So when you're doing for me, I've got, let's just say I got an open house lead or a Facebook lead. Okay, pretty much any buyer lead is going to be on a 1,000-day email text drip plan. I'm going to automatically set them on my instant property alert. So my CRM is sending them a property that meets their criteria the second it comes available. My mission there, my goal there is to beat them to Zillow. But then it's going to start tasking me to do my phone calls. So I never forget when to do my phone calls. But then from there, now I got my mass emails. So I do a weekly broadcast email to every single human being inside my CRM. So I got a weekly email. Then I got a monthly market update report that I send out to every person in my CRM. Then I got holiday emails. There's about 7 core holidays, so New Year's Eve, I'm going to send a happy New Year's Eve email. It has nothing to do with real estate. They'll see it's coming from my real estate email. They'll see it's coming, they'll see my email signature in there, but whatever it is, happy 4th of July, so we want to be able to, now I can go in, create one email, and have it with the variable data. So hi, variable data, insert first name. I can create one email and then hit the go button and have that sent out to 90,000 leads all simultaneously. So you want to make sure that you know how to, and you're leveraging your mass email feature. And you know how to filter it too. Let's just say someday, maybe, if interest rates ever come down and you want to message all your buyer leads. So now you can filter out just my buyer leads, and then you're messaging them about interest rates, right? So you can also, filter down where they're not going out necessarily to everybody with your mass email features. Okay, then the fourth thing, and the last thing is being able to work the contact record properly. So this is really, okay, as you're clearing out your daily task queue, how are you got to be able to know how to update and work your contact record correctly. So this is going to be like adding manual tasks. Maybe I call them, I'm tasked to call a lead, I call them up, and they're like, hey, now's a bad time. I'm actually on the way heading out the door right now to drop my kids off at a birthday party. So now's not a good time. Okay, no worries at all. I'll give you a call tomorrow. How about 3 o'clock? Does that work for you? Okay, cool, that works. Okay, I can log that call, log that conversation, and then that same window set a task for me to call them at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So that way I don't forget, right? So when it comes to working the contact record, my recommendation is to add, I know it's difficult because we get busy and we're trying to move to the next conversation, the next task, but slow down, add the right notes, because it's with follow-up and conversions. Yeah, it's about quantity, but it's equally, if not more importantly, about quality. So I want to make sure I'm having those in there. So when I'm developing that rapport, so before I get into the real estate conversation, it's, hey, last time we talked, you got that new job promotion at work. How's that going? Tell me about it. Hey, last time we talked, you had this going on in life. How's that going? Right? Because I want to develop that connection, especially with that lead follow-up and long-term nurture. I want to build that rapport. So when I'm reaching out to them, instead of just being like, well, how's the family? I could be like, well, hey, how's Amanda doing? Well, what about Michaela, Lane, and Jackson? They good too? right? So I'm not going to remember that, but all of that is front right there in that contact record. So I'm able to work it, reference it, and make sure that, because at the end of the day, we're in the human resource, human connection business. People are going to go with, you got to know what you're doing and they got to have faith that you can service them in their real estate goals. But outside of that, that's just kind of ante the given. Outside of that, they're going to go with whoever develops the best connection with them, the deepest connection, right? So it becomes really important. So item number 4 is being able to work your contact record correctly. And part of that is being able to clear out your daily task queue. On my team, we call it clearing out the plate. Like every day going in there, you got your daily tasks, maybe you got 50 tasks that day, making sure that you are clearing out those tasks, but you're completing them, you're updating it correctly, you're notating it correctly. That's what I mean by working the daily contact record. So those are the 4 things that are going to yield you 99.9% of the results with your CRM. I'm not saying to not leverage all the other tools that your CRM might provide, but what I am saying is master these 4 things. Get these 4 things dialed in before you start tinkering around with all the other bullshit. And this will also just save you a ton of time, energy, money, right? Focus, overwhelm, because now you know the 4 things. So now you can forget the other 996 things, and now you can just focus on the 4 things. Okay, so next topic I want to talk about is local market expertise. And I'm going to break this down into 2 parts, right? So just in case you're watching this and you're a newer agent, or maybe you've just never done any element of local market expertise, because we got to know how to, one of the hard parts about real estate and becoming a successful real estate agent is, you got to know how to go out there and lead generate. You got to know how to sell. You got to know how to, you got to know all of those things. But then you also got to know how to accomplish your client's real estate goals. You got to know how to fulfill on that. You got to know your market inside now. You got to know, the school districts, the builders, there's so many things that we need to know. And that's one of the hard things about real estate. That's one of the blessings as to why I believe that we're not going to be replaced by AI. Because there's just too many damn moving pieces, man, when it comes to this. So step number 1, this is what I do with brand new agents that join my team that have never sold real estate. So we identify, let's just say I'm going to focus on this city. So then I have them for the first 30 days, spending 2 hours a day. So the first hour is I have them going through the MLS. Just for the last 24 hours, I have them pulling, any new active that came available in the last 24 hours in that city. Anything that's went under contract in the last 24 hours, anything that's expired, canceled, withdrawn in the last 24 hours, and anything that's closed in the last 24 hours, and I have them study it. So I'm not going through all the MLS printouts, all the photos, all the information, the tax records. Now, for the first 3 weeks, it's probably like you're learning German. It might sound like gibberish to you, but then about that 3-week mark, boom, it starts to clicking. And they start realizing, what are the most popular features? What are the most popular subdivisions? What are the most popular school districts? What are the most popular builders? What are things selling at price per square foot? What are they not selling at price per square foot? So I have them doing that every day for an hour their first 30 days. The second thing that I have them do is go pick one subdivision, one neighborhood, and I want you to drive that. I want you to get familiar with the local businesses, the local schools, the local parks, the streets inside that subdivision. While you're in there, I want you previewing 2 vacant properties. And then while they're previewing the 2 vacant properties, I have them, shoot social media content. So they're starting to build that up with their sphere of influence. But what I really want them doing is really getting familiar with previewing properties, walking properties, and what's going on with those neighborhoods, what school districts are, with those neighborhoods, and so forth. So I have them doing that for 30 days. And I can promise you do that for 30 days, you do those 2 tasks, you'll have more local market expertise in your city than most agents that have been doing this 5 or 10 years. Now, then the ongoing, because like I talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, we need to be able to read markets and know what's going on in our markets. Like here's an example. Back in when the market fell off a cliff in 2008, I had so many agents that were dropping out of the industry or really struggling. And they're like, oh man, nobody saw this coming. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't see this coming? Like, how could you have not saw this coming? We peaked in 2005. We had, it was 31 months of month over month, small, but 31 months of progressive inventory increases. And we know that, under 3 months of inventory is typically going to put us in a seller's market. 3 to 4 months of inventory is going to be a neutral market. 4+ months, especially once we get that 5 months, is going to be a pretty heavy buyer's market. And then depending on once we get in that 6-7 month, we're going to see more short sales, more REOs. We know these things. So then from there, what am I doing? Month over month, I just build out a spreadsheet every single month, and then I go into the MLS and I run the reports. So, let's just say December 2024. Once December's done, and the data's reported. So you might want to wait till like the 10th of, like January 10th. Then I'll go in and plug December's data in there. But I'm plugging in, okay, what are the months of inventory for that month? So I can see what the increases are, if it's staying stagnant, if it's going up, going down. So what's the months of inventory, aka absorption rate? So hey, we're at 3.2 months. Next month, we're at 3.3. Next month, we're at 3.4. I can start seeing the rate and the run rate, and then I can calculate, hey, if this continues doing what it's doing, then I know we're going to be in this market, so I know how to pivot, adjust, and adapt, right? Then from there, okay, how many new active listings hit the market? How many solds did we have? How many under contract and under pending? What's the average sold price? What's the average list price? What's the median sold price, average list price? And then days on market. So those things I'm tracking on a spreadsheet, I'm analyzing, and I'm looking at trends every single month. So this is how, okay, like going into 2008, I'd already started positioning myself. Now, I didn't know everybody didn't do this. I was lucky to have a good mentor that taught me this stuff early on. I didn't know that people didn't do this stuff, right? Because I was just trained and brought up to do this stuff, right? So, but I knew that, okay, hey, by this point in time, we're going to start seeing a big influx of short sales. By this point in time, we're going to start seeing a big influx in REOs. So before the market fell off a cliff and Lehman's Brothers collapses and all of that, like I'm already positioned with REOs. I already knew short sales. I already knew those things. When going in from 2021 into 2022, okay, we're tracking month over month and we're seeing transaction volume dip every single month. Okay, so we're hedging our business plans accordingly. So we knew that, okay, if pendings and closed transactions is dropping 10% month over month. Okay, we knew that we had to adjust our business plan and go out there and convert and follow up with 10% more leads to get the same result. So we were able to hedge with this stuff. So this is where it gives us that data, because at the end of the day, the real estate market, real estate's always moving hands. The real estate market's always good for somebody. You've got to be able to identify whom the market is good for. So the real estate itself will be the one constant that never changes throughout your career. There'll be new builds added, of course, but meaning that, okay, you got this physical product. Your job is to know that product and move that product. Now, who's buying it, who's selling it, why they're buying it, why they're selling it, where they're coming from, where they're going, that's going to be the variable that's always changing. And that's what we got to be able to, based on this data and paying attention to this data, gives us the ability to go out there and read markets and then know how to adjust accordingly. So I'm like, okay, hey, if this trend continues, within the next 6 months, okay, we're going to be in a pretty severe buyer's market. How do I need to adjust my business? Do I need to start focusing a little bit more on buyers versus sellers? Because I know, especially in the beginning phase, when we start shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market, sellers are going to be living in the past. They're going to be unrealistic. They're going to want $100,000 more for their home than they're going to be able to get. Buyers are going to be more in control. So for me, when people are like, oh, do you focus on buyers? Do you focus on sellers? I'm like, hey, look, I focus on selling real estate. There are certain markets where I'm focused primarily on sellers. There have been certain markets where I'm more focused on buyers. There are certain markets where I've been very balanced. I'm just, hey, what do I need to do based on what we are seeing economically, what we are seeing with our overall market shift and conditions? That shows me how I need to pivot, switch, and adapt, based on that market data. So keep that ongoing spreadsheet so you have that data and you can study it and start making adjustments accordingly. All right, so I hope that you found this helpful. Again, make sure to check out gsdmode.com. And as I mentioned, if you guys want to learn more about partnering together, on how we can work together to crush and dominate your real estate business. I don't care where you're at, what country that you're in, US, Canada, we're in 22 countries right now, how you can get full access to my mentorship, my coaching, all my training 100% for free by partnering together. And it's more deeper than just, oh, here's my coaching. Like, we're partners, right? Like, I'm going to make sure you have the right plan. I'm going to make sure that you have the right support. I'm going to make sure that you have everything that you need to go out there and crush it and dominate together. So if you are interested in learning more about partnering together, everything I do is zero pressure. I'm not going to hard sell you. Just, hey, here's what I'm doing. If you think that this could help you grow your business, great. If not, okay, that's okay too. We can still be friends. Everything I do is zero pressure. So you have my word. I'm not going to try to recruit you or hard sell you. It's just, hey, here's what we got going on. This is something you're interested in. Great. If not, that's okay too. But if you're interested in partnering with me at EXP and learning what we can do together to go out there and murder and crush it together and build something epic and amazing together, go to www.gsdmode.com/partner. Again, there's going to be links below in the comments and in the show notes. Or you go to gsdmode.com if it's easier for you. I know a lot of you are just listening to this while you're at the gym or whatever. At the top, you'll see an area that says partner with me. Click on that, schedule that free, 100% confidential, zero strings attached, zero pressure Zoom call where we can have that conversation about what a potential partnership would look like. All right, guys, keep crushing, keep kicking ass. I will see you next time. Peace.